Thank you for joining Effortless Attraction. My name is Evelyn McAleer. I'm the author of A Life You Want, Effortless, and The Woman's Journey. I'm a life coach, business mentor, and inspirational speaker. And my greatest value is making a difference in people's lives. So I hope through these podcasts I can make a difference to your life. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, whoever can get to join in on another Effortless Attraction fabulous podcast. Today, I'm joined by Mickey Coleman, originally from County Tyrone, in a place called Arbo, and he's now living out in New York. I saw something that Mickey put up on social media the other day, and we're just a few days past, as he calls the second year of his rebirth. Mickey put up a quote that every man has two lives, and he realizes on a second life when he only had the one to begin with. I think I've got that quote right. Mickey Coleman, you are most welcome today, and thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, Evelyn. Looking forward to it.
So, Mickey, we're going to start at what we can go back to. We're going to take you from living in Ireland to your journey over to America, and then we'll build this up and the whole journey. But all of it is fabulous. Out from the country on the shores of Lough Neagh, and you decided to head to America. What was the dream then, Mickey?
Yeah, kind of unexpected, to be honest. I was asked to come out and play football for the Tyrone, New York senior team in New York. So for 3 months, so I done that. Came out 2011. Enjoyed the few months that I was there, came back for Christmas, got me visa, and then landed in New York for real on January 4th, 2012. And that's when the crack started. I started a company, Shoreline Builders. We do drywall. At that time, we were doing it, and it was an asbestos company. Built it up, worked, met my wife a year later on a music cruise, playing music. And 10 years later, 2 kids and living in Pearl River, New York. That's the short summary.
That's the short summary. I'm going to go back 2003. By the way, he does hold his All-Ireland medal. The first year our county had their hands on Sam Maguire. Mickey Coleman was there to be there at that day. And I think I'm actually proud as the parish that we come from, that we got the man of the match. We have ownership of the man of the match. But yes, Mickey, and you took your fitness very serious as well, Mickey, most of your life.
Yeah, look, I played with Arbo at senior level for 16 years, and I played with Tyrone for a number of years on the 20s, on the 21s and seniors. And as you mentioned there, lucky enough to win an All-Ireland with Tyrone 2003. So yeah, I always looked after myself, or at least I thought I was looking after myself. Mm-hmm. Out here was no different. I trained the New York senior team. I trained Donegal. I was always involved with the Fela teams for 5 years. So I was always actively involved with the GA. Mm-hmm. Went for a run, which I would do quite regular here in Pearl River. 5K, I'd usually do it 2 or 3 times a week. This one particular, on the 29th of March, 2021, I left my office in Manhattan, came up the road, said to my wife I was going for a run. It was nothing unusual. Went for the run, came back. Aaron had made me a sandwich, ate the sandwich, and next thing, dropped dead on the floor of the house. The question is, what's in the sandwich?
Actually, I thought I'm not the only one. Please, Evelyn, don't even ask that question.
But no.
All joking aside, yes.
So all joking aside,
you did die.
I took a Widowmaker heart attack, which is basically a rupture of the left anterior descending artery, which is the main artery in the left side of the heart. It was a plaque rupture, and there's a 6% survival rate, and I was very lucky that I survived it. There was a lot of things that came into play in me surviving that day. Was the quick actions of my wife, Erin, to call 911. The ambulance or the EMS are just at the bottom of our road, and believe it or not, I drove past it 100 times and never noticed it. until I had to. They were here within 6 minutes. When you call emergency services in America, you have the fire department, you have the police, and you have the ambulance all come at the one time. So the police landed here first, and I remember just before I dropped dead, 2 police officers came in through the door. They were literally at my house within 5 to 6 minutes. So that was one of the main reasons that I survived. They immediately started doing CPR. So then I was hit with a defibrillator. That brought me around. I don't remember any of this. I'm just telling you this from what I've been told. I was flatlined, so that brought me around. I then flatlined another twice on the way to the hospital. When I got to the hospital, I was flatlined, so they worked on me, brought me into theatre, done the emergency procedure, and brought me around. But Erin tells the story that on the way to the hospital, she was following the ambulance, and in her head she was saying she hadn't a clue what was actually the severity of what was going on. She says, just I didn't bring a change of clothes for him to come out this evening, But
as a woman's first concern would be.
Exactly. And when she got there, it was a whole different reality. The 2 doctors were waiting for her and basically told her, listen, your husband has a very serious heart attack. We don't know if he's going to make it. We want you to come and see him before we take him to surgery. So that's when, I guess, the reality kicked in for her.
Yeah.
She's a lot more scarred from it than I am because I don't remember much of it. But yeah, that was reality. 3 days later, I woke up very sick, kidney failure, liver failure, double pneumonia. So even though I woke up at quite a battle in my hands to get back on my feet, 2 young kids at the time. Mihal was 6, Reardon was 2. So a lot of fight for.
Yeah. I've got shivers down my back here now, Mickey. As you're saying, the last that you remember was being in the house, going into the house, and that was it 3 days later. So I want to talk about a few things. That interim period, have there been anything that has come back to you? Did you experience outer body in that event?
I did. Yes. So there's a couple of steps to this. It's very hard for people who will probably be listening to this today to sort of understand where this is coming from. And I don't expect them to understand that because I don't think our minds are expanded enough in general to really grasp it. We can try to grasp it. We can have the best intentions to grasp it, but until you actually have experienced it, it's a whole different
but
feeling.
You're in safe company here now because I have known people that have had outer body, people that speak to spirits. So it don't be alien to me, but it's a lovely thing as people. And this is why I love doing this here, Mickey, too, because we have this vision that you'll die or you go to a fluffy heaven, maybe, or a borny hell, or maybe there's that in between, purgatory or limbo, if it still exists. But there's a curiosity in us all. What happens? You were flatlined 3 times. You were clinically dead.
Dead for 6.5 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Flatlined. But when I was dead, let's say, so it was very interesting. First of all, I was floating over a place called Rockland, GA. So I live in Rockland County in Pearl River. And we have a fantastic facility up here, which is Rockland GA. And it's so many good men and women came together, built this fabulous facility for our kids to play Gaelic football, camogie, hurling, Irish language, music, you name it, it's there. And I was very involved in that. Still am. I'm currently training the senior team. But when I died, I was floating over Rockland GA. Of all places, and not Arbo. Don't ask me why, but I was floating over Rockland GA. But
you would have been in hell.
You'd have thought,
shit, they've sent me back to hell. Sorry,
Arbo. But it all made sense at the end. So I was floating over. I was like hovering over the pavilion in Rockland GA, and I could see all these people praying for me, and like having a mass. And I just want to state for the record, I was raised Catholic. For me to say that I was a practicing Catholic would be hypocritical of me because I wasn't. I would go to a funeral or I would go to a wedding, but wasn't going to mass every Sunday, and I think that's an important part of this, because it highlights that I wasn't what you would call a practicing Catholic. I had a lot of faith. I had a lot of I really struggled with the institutions of Catholic religion for various reasons. But I think that's important for people to understand that, because I wouldn't want people thinking, oh, I was a holy Joe and this was the kind of way it was going. It's actually the opposite. So anyway, I was floating over, could see all these people praying for me. I knew they were praying for me, and it was absolute bliss. It was the most amazing feeling you could ever imagine. If you take the happiest day of your life and multiply it by 100, it was just off the charts. I was fully aware that I had a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful children, a good family, all of that. I was fully aware in my mind that I had all of that, but it didn't matter. And I could feel these people, or energy around me. I couldn't see them, but I knew there was people behind me. I could just, pure bliss. And I started to elevate towards the sky, and there was this little aura that I had to get to, and that's where I was going. Because I knew when I got there that it would be even better again. I just, in my mind, I knew that this was just going to be something that I'd never experienced in my life. But this energy, that's all I can explain it, started to pull me back. And I remember like trying to fight it, that I didn't want to come back. Didn't want to. Pulling, and the next thing, I opened my eyes, and Father Brendan Fitzgerald, who's the parish priest, very good friend of mine, was praying over me in Nyack Hospital in the ICU, and I was on a ventilator. Opened my eyes, and he says to me, Mickey, you're going to be okay. You're in God's hands. And closed my eyes again. And 3 days later, I woke up. And when I woke up, this is where it sort of took a new turn. My wife came into me with the iPad, and I'm sure you can forgive me for getting a bit emotional. She came in with the iPad, and at that point I had kidney failure, or not functioning anyway. My liver function was not good, and I had double pneumonia. So even though people were happy to see me awake, which I was happy too, I still had a big fight, a huge fight in my hands. So my wife came in with the iPad and says, Mickey, I need you to watch the iPad. I says, what is it? She says, they're having a healing mass for you tonight in Rockland GAA.
Do you know how I have been sitting here? I am covered in goosebumps from head to toe from you started talking, and I got emotional before you got emotional there too, Mickey. It's just, I can feel it all down. This is
good emotion.
It's good emotion.
It's good emotion.
It's always a good sign.
Yeah. So I said to her, and I says, yeah, I've saw that already. And I was on a lot of medication at the time, so she thought, all right, he's a bit out of it here with the medication. And then during that whole period, so this was during COVID, and when you understand the times that it was, only we had a few good friends. A good friend of mine, Rory Healy, who's a sergeant in Clarkstown Police Department, and Carmen O'Reilly, who works for the council, as you call it at home, were able to get my wife Erin access into the hospital, because it was during COVID and there was no access into any hospital. So I was very fortunate that I was able to get Erin in there. But during that whole time, you couldn't fly to the States. So my mother and my sister, when they were jumping, everybody jumped through hoops to get them out here. And we got, they landed up getting here, which was, I don't know how they pulled that off, but at that time, but they got here. But I remember when I started to come around, like 4 or 5 days later, once I woke up out of the coma, that I had this real urgency to tell them what happened to me, but didn't know how to tell them, because they're going to think I'm mad, they're going to think I'm out of my mind, or what's happened to me, or he's lost the plot. Or so I remember asking Erin to get Father Brendan Fitzgerald back up, and I remember telling them all in the room what happened to me. It was like even though I was very sick, it was like someone had taken a spiritual blanket and threw it over me. I knew I was always going to get better. I knew that I was going to recover. They were telling me my heart was so damaged that, you know, I'd never do this again, never do that again. Within 2 months, I was back running 9 mile a week. So since that, and I'm sure we'll get into it, it's a success story. It's not a sad story, even though it's an emotional story, but it is a very successful story. It's what has happened to me since, and helping people, and, you know, talking to people, and every day I talk to them, people that are terminally ill, people that are going through tough times, particularly in sickness, like, because sickness is a great leveler. You know, you'll, like, I hear the quote one, or something similar to, like, you know, a man wants a million things, but a sick man wants one thing, you know, just to get better. And it's so true. And I was floating through life in a bubble, had a company, beautiful family, had the house, had the cars, doing well in business, and just in the flick of a switch, gone. Everything was just taken, swept off my very foundation, was completely rocked to the core. Never was on any medication ever in my life, looked after myself. And then the real challenge began when I woke up. How did this happen to me? Why did this happen to Mickey Coleman? How could it happen to me? I'm fit, look after myself. And that's where the real journey began. And that's where I'm at today. That has really taken over a good part of my life. You see,
there's a reason, and I did not know about the near-death experience, but I always know if somebody's flatline, there's something. But I have spoken to so many people, Mickey, that this has happened to. And even a gentleman that was in a severe car accident, his wife and child were killed in that. He went out of body and was in the presence of his wife, and he wanted to stay. He says that it was so lovely. And she says, "You can't be here. We still have another child." He had to go back.
Yeah.
And again, the same thing where he would share, he was on medication and people would have thought he's hallucinating. But thankfully where he was, there was also a doctor working on that ward that witnesses. He was taught, he says he was speaking to the wife at the, you know, so to me, it makes perfect sense. And I love the feeling, and you can hear it from people. I say I've been covered in goosebumps from you've been telling me. So I do love that. And for me, that is a divine presence. We're always looked after. We're always walked with. You're always safe.
100%.
So
100%.
big lessons for you. Yes, I suppose, look, your circle of friends, men's men, lads, if I start telling them this story, they say, Jesus Christ, Mickey Coleman has coped or something. And I bet you other people have had similar spiritual experiences that are kind of afraid to share that. So tell me, on the journey to recovery, and it's just been 2 years, and I'm sure that will always continue, do you feel a stronger connection or something, Mickey, that is from there to something greater that's within you, and you're connected to something greater outside?
100%. It's been life-changing for me. It's also, like, people say to me, you know, if you could have prevented that or get checked. I had a checkup 3 weeks prior to my heart attack, and everything was good. Yes, 100%. And if we go back to that quote that I quoted the other day on Facebook, every man has 2 lives, and they start to live their second, or woman, when they realize they only have one. And that is so true for me. And there's so many things have happened. I would not change what happened to me, as bad as it was on the 29th of March. Wouldn't change it. And the reason I wouldn't change it is there was so much learning in that for me, and really brought me closer to the meaning of life, for the want of a better word. I'm not afraid to die anymore. I used to be thinking, you know, people be thinking, oh, what about this, what about that? I can assure you right now, there's absolutely nothing to be worried about dying, or for anybody that has died belonging to you. You can be guaranteed they're in a good place. And
what about living? Do you see sometimes people are afraid to live?
I'm going to come to that in a second. But I think it's important to hit on this. I will come to the living thing, because that's a whole other big chapter that we need to talk about. And I don't say that lightly in terms of when people that have passed are in a good place, regardless of how they passed. Doesn't matter. That's regardless of that. So if you are listening to this here, anybody that has passed belong to you, as hard as it is to get that into your head, they're definitely in a good place. And I know that for a fact. So I'm not afraid to die. If I drop dead right now talking to you, it wouldn't bother me in the slightest. What would bother me is that I would leave my children and my wife. And that's what I don't want to happen, and like everybody else. But that's in the what I call the human world, for the want of a better word. I don't think that we're human beings having a spiritual experience. I think we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I think that we're, you know, intent and on purpose. I think we're cloaked in a human facade, and the sooner that we dive into that and understand and give that more attention, the work that you're doing and a lot of other people is, you know, there's a lot of different realms out there, and I've learned this greatly. There's the physical realm, if you want to talk about it. There's the spiritual and there's the emotional. And I knew when I woke up, even though I was so sick, that physically I would get back to where I needed to be. I knew I could always achieve that. But there's an emotional side to it and a spiritual side to it that we're not in touch with. And when I was lying in the hospital, very, very ill, the only thing that I could tap into was the spiritual side of things to get me better and to gain that strength, because it's all you had. It's all I had. I couldn't go to the bathroom. Couldn't get out of the bed. People were washing me for 2 weeks. But the only thing that helped me was the spiritual side of it, where I was able to think every night and ask the questions and set these little challenges to get myself the next step. What's the next step? How do I get out of bed? How do I get on my feet? How do I get back to walking? Like, you just learn it all over again. And when we look at living as we are today, where you have people worrying about mortgages, loans, working, all the materialistic things that we have in our life, that 99.9% of us, and I was this person, we get up in the morning and we were people pleasing, we're doing our makeup, we're doing our hair, not doing it for ourselves. We're doing it as to how we're personified by everyone else. And I listened to one of your podcasts, Evelyn, about fixing from within to make it, you know, everything else happen from, you know, outside. And such a learning curve for me. But anyway, when you look at all these people that are running around and they're driving themselves crazy and whatever chaos is going on in their lives, let me tell you something. And to all your listeners, trust me when I tell you this. I was in a bubble. I had more money than I ever dreamed I would have. I had the Range Rovers, I had the properties, I had a trade in business, I had it all. Everything. On the 3rd of April, when I woke up at about 7 o'clock in the evening, I would safely say I would have given everything that I had to hug my 2 kids.
I've said that to Jim when we do, and we say how blessed, how gratitude we have. And I said, you know, there's people, and I've seen ones that have lost family members that are too young, wealthy businessmen. I says I guarantee they'd give anything to have 100%. That child back there, you know.
In that instant, my life changed. I would have lived in a cardboard box just to hug my 2 children. I couldn't do it. So the point I'm getting to, everything that I had focused my attention on for 10 years in this country, all the materialistic things that I busted my back to get, were worthless to me. They were no good. So for 10 years, my focus was on something that was no good to me. It was in the wrong place. And what happens is when you're looking at a materialistic goal and you get it, then you want the next one and the next one. And there's no inner contentment or no inner peace in yourself. So what I learned from all of this is all of that is useless to you. What you have to do, and this is, I remember listening to your podcast, is you have to create an inner peace and get an inner contentment within yourself. And when you do that, everything outside of you fits in.
Simply an experience.
It all works. It all works. And it's all intended to work, right or wrong, in the deepest, darkest depths that you will ever be in. And I've been there, trust me. There's a reason for it. That's very hard for people to understand. There's a real reason for it, and it's intended. It's intention. It's there. It's supposed to be there, and you'll get out of it. And I talk to a lot of people now that were in the same situation that I was in, and I say to them, there is hope. There's a glimmer of hope. Take one step at a time. Don't look at the end goal, because that'll overwhelm you. Like step by step by step, every day, one step in front of the other. And at some point, I never suffered depression in my life, ever. Never was on a tablet or a pill. And I'll have to say, like 2 to 3 months of my recovery, I went into serious depression. I couldn't work, could hardly walk. I had an ejection fraction of my heart, which was below 30%, which was, I wore a defibrillator vest for 4 months. That was a reminder every day. It was the anxiety, the fear of what if this happens again. All of that went in this melting pot inside my head. And people used to come into the house, and I was so glad to see them. There'd be great crack for an hour or two, and the minute they would leave, I would cry for.
Yeah. Isn't it? The persona.
Yeah. So it's not like that anymore for me. It's I get up every morning and I face the day with complete gratitude. I hug my kids and my wife, and I thank God that He opened my eyes, because a lot of people didn't this morning.
I know. It is a wonderful thing, and life, and again, Mickey, look, anyone could be dealt the same cards and still come through life as a victim. Why me? Why Mickey Coleman? Why did that happen to me? I've done all the right things, and then the bad things happen to me. And someone I'd heard yesterday, but I've heard this saying before, you can't connect the dots while you're in the process. It's when you look back, as you said, as hard as that was at the time, there's a reason why it happened. And a quote that I remember hearing, it was that I had to make you uncomfortable, otherwise you never would have moved. The universe, God, whatever we choose to see it as. We're not being punished. These are, I believe, my belief, and my belief doesn't have to be anybody else's belief. But I know, see, when you even talking there, Mickey, I could sit and cry, and not for feeling sad or out of emotion, but I know that without no, do you know that, again, it's difficult sometimes to put into words. It's a feeling. It's a feeling that I don't need no scientific proof, but there's scientific proof out there if people want to go and get it. But that 100%. Connection of, there's home. Every time I hear the word home, and it's not a home as in here with bricks and mortar and roof, when somebody talks about going home, that's home.
Absolutely. Like there's a divine intelligence going on in this world. And this sounds wacky for a lot of people. And it would be wacky for me too if I hadn't this experience. There's a divine intelligence. No, I sincerely mean this. There is a divine intelligence going on in this world that we're not in tune with. And I said to you earlier, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, and we just need to tap into it. Because look, it doesn't matter how Evelyn or Mickey Coleman wakes up this morning here, and what's afternoon you. Like, it doesn't matter, because I'm telling you right now, that sun's going to rise and it's going to set. Rivers are going to flow, trees are going to blossom, flowers are going to bloom, the grass is going to grow. The world works exactly how it's supposed to work. It's our perception of how the world works that holds us back. Like, it's beautiful. Open your eyes, see it. Because what you think you become, if I decide to go out the door today and see racism, hatred, badness, that's exactly what I'm going to see. If I choose to go out that door today and see love, prosperity, hope, all of these things, that's exactly what you're going to see. So I would say to people, wake up in the morning and get that feeling into your heart. No matter how bad you feel, there's a reason to wake up. And I've been there. I know exactly how that is. There's two things for example, I'm kind of going back and forth here. You look on TikTok, you look on YouTube, you look at all these speakers, not getting anything at yourself, Evelyn. I think it's great stuff. No, I think it's powerful stuff. I really think it's powerful stuff. I really do. But I'm going to come back to something in a second that you mightn't agree with me on. But anyway, I look at all this and I see all this motivational stuff and I see all of that. And I'm going to tell you right now, if anybody is telling you that you're waking up every day and you've got gratitude in your heart, all well and good. But we're human beings for the most part, right? Even though I think we're spiritual beings, but we're living in a human facade. You're going to have bad days. There's days you don't want to do it. Why do I think that's harder for people like yourself? And I'm speaking to a person at the moment who went through something similar to I have, and he runs a fantastic company doing a lot of good stuff for top achievers. But I says to them, you need to be you today. You can't have this facade that you're helping everybody, because when you don't have your own, when you're not the best version of yourself and you're going out to teach other people to be the best versions of themselves, you're a fraud. You need to look after you and look after yourself and be the best version of yourself. And it's okay to not be all right today. And I'm not doing it today, because if you're not, there's something wrong with you. But anyway, I'm just quoting over it here. The other thing is, when you get up in the morning and your life is in chaos, or you might think it's in chaos, there's two things that I think you should do to fix that. And despite all the motivational videos, despite all the TikToks, despite all the YouTube, we're in real life. This is real. It's not a dress rehearsal. Two things that helped me, and I use them to this day. And I'm telling you, on my darkest days, I done this, and it helped me. And the two things are: get up with gratitude in your heart, real gratitude, not saying, oh, I'm grateful to be alive. Think about what you have and what you're grateful for. And the first thing is that you open your eyes and you're able to breathe. Because I'm telling you right now, a lot of people didn't do that this morning. A lot of people didn't. The second thing is to live in the present moment. Forget about tomorrow. Forget about it. Because
I think that's quite difficult. Even a lot of people I work with, they straight away into the or stuck there. They're stuck there, or they're going
either back here or up there. So when you need to practice this, because I know better than anyone. I drove out of New York City on the 29th of March, as fit as I'm talking to you right now, and 2 hours later I was fighting for my life, with no indication that was going to happen to me. And it's easy for me to talk about this because I'm highly motivated and it happened to me and I understand what happened to me. It's very difficult to get through to some people that it hasn't happened to, and they're just floating and cruising through life. I'm telling you right now, I had no indication what was happening to me. And 2 hours later, I was fighting for my life, and everything changed on that day. So I know better, or as well as anyone, that tomorrow's not guaranteed. I know that, and it's easy for me to understand that. It's maybe not so easy for a lot of your listeners, but I would encourage you to get that into your thinking, to live in the present moment. And if you do those two things, get up every day with gratitude, because we're socially programmed or institutionalized in a certain way to think about what we don't have. And when you do that, you attract a lot of what you don't have.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know yourself, Mickey. Sorry for interrupting. If I take you back, so again, in the way that I said, see, life it's full of experiences. I always think, do you remember in the school playground, whenever you were a child of primary school, and you got out to play, and whenever the break was over, the bell rang. And that's how I see life. I always remember my primary school, and they used to come out for the old school bell. I think when it's our time, the bell's ringing and you're coming in, and there's no getting out of it. So I was thinking, if it's going to be COVID, if it's going to be the lorry, if it's going to be if it's whatever it is, it's done. But those experiences, as you said, because you have achieved and have got to experience the material things in life, because you said when you went to America, somebody could have read a song about you, a lakh of dollars in your pocket, and then you built up that. So you got to achieve and experience what it was like to have the business, what it was like to have the cars, the house, the dreams and the visions, which people, when they're manifesting, yes, to achieve the material things in life. And you remind of quote of Wayne Dyer, if I believe I am that which I have, who am I when I am not? And you also got to experience, who am I when I am not the business owner, when I'm not, and and everything's removed from you. Now we get to experience the spiritual, the God divine within you. And it's like, as you say, a second life. You get to see it from a different level of perspective. You get
100%. And it's funny you mentioned Wayne Dyer, because I've read all of his books in the last 2 years.
I've heard, I can hear Wayne and you talking there.
100%. And I stumbled across him. I didn't even know who he was. He used to teach down at St. John's University in the city, actually not far from my office. He's since passed away, but it's almost like I was supposed to find him in a way, or his teachings. And I remember in the hospital lying and playing on the phone and coming across one of his talks, and then I got downloaded his book Erroneous Zones, and everything that he was saying was the life I was living at that present time. And he was a big help. Obviously read into a lot of other things, but he was the guy that put it into layman terms, so to speak. Basically, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. That all those famous quotes. But like Wayne Dyer was very good at delivering the message to people like me who weren't that educated, let's say, right, to understand the fancy talk. But it was fabulous stuff. But everything that Wayne Dyer says is everything that I do on a daily basis. Like, and he talks about all that stuff. But it's what we tend to do as people is we tend to overthink it and complicate it. And life is very, very simple.
Yeah.
And it's the simple little things. Like I'm telling you right now, if anybody's listening to this here, if you have any gripes with anybody, people you don't talk to, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, whatever it may be, it's irrelevant. Pick up the phone and give them a call. I'm telling you right now, it's not worth it. Because the only thing that's getting in the way of that call or that conversation is your ego. Period.
That's right. And that's what we were gifted when we got the body form.
100%.
It's like, we're going to give this beautiful spirit the experience of this place called Earth. But in order to do that, you must go into a form, which is a body. So everything looks separate. You look separate from me because you have a different body than me, the woman down the road, but everything's all one energy. Absolutely. I know I could sit and talk from this morning tonight, but I'll not 100%. Get too carried away with it all. But
we'll do another one on that.
But you know that yourself anyway, Mickey. Look, you meet people, and even if people don't have this spiritual persona or talk about it, there's a feeling. People get a feeling of energy. You can walk into a house and nobody doesn't even have to open their mouth, and you'll feel it.
We all experience, like a very good friend of mine, Faye Evelyn from Pomeroy, a native of Pomeroy. He's him and his wife Rosemary. Rosemary's from Oma. They're living out here. Like, they're such good people. Like, and they've done really well. Faye owns Eurotech Construction. Rosemary owns O2 Living Juice. They're really high achievers, but behind it all, they're good people. So I like everything that you achieve in your life is a byproduct of how you feel. So when I talk, you have to create that inner contentment and that inner peace. You look around you at people that are achieving at the highest level. They've got themselves figured out. There's an inner peace. Everything else falls into place. It's a byproduct of how you're feeling. Like if you're chasing the money, or you're chasing the material things, like I done, they'll always run faster than Mickey. They'll always run faster than Evelyn.
And even in that word, through the strength of my belief, my faith will make it so, or through the strength of my faith, my belief will make it so. In those words, I was chasing. So what is chasing? You're always.
I'm telling you, you're always chasing. And how you do that is you live in the present moment and you bring gratitude into your life, regardless of what's happening to you. And I'm telling you right now, it'll change, because here's what happens. When you're in the deepest, darkest place in your life and you think there's no road out of it, and you get up every morning, you say, what am I grateful for? And again, that's opening your eyes. Gradually, and you live in the present moment, because you're right there, right now. Because if I say to Evelyn today, like, what's bothering you? And if Evelyn's truly living in the present moment, well, you and I are having a great conversation. You have a roof over your head, you have food in your stomach, you're not hurting. If you actually truly are living in the present moment, you're living like a queen, and I'm living like a king. But the minute that I start to think about tomorrow, mortgage payments, you're creating that whole kind of, thought in your head, sure. Negativity. So what you do is when you start living in that gratitude phase, when all the negative stuff starts to come into your circle, and you go back to gratitude and the present moment, you push it back out, and then gradually, day after day, you keep pushing it until you just wake up with gratitude every day in your life. So it's not something you flick a switch and you say, this is going to work. It's not going to work. If you're hurting, you're going to hurt. But what's the alternative?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And in every present moment, when people have anxiety or panic or fears, when we're present in the moment, and I'd ask the question, are you safe? They'll always answer yes. In every present moment, I am safe. And then I'll go to the next present, I am safe. And there's many a day I have had to, when sometimes we're fearful of stepping into something or ringing somebody, or I am safe. I am safe. And I remind myself of that. Mickey, I could sit here. We'll have to do another one again. But on the strength of Wayne Dyer, and I have the sitting beside me, and I read it out. I have ladies there, we talk every morning, and I read this out a lot of the morning. So I'm going to finish our podcast off with this here. And I want to say thank you, Mickey, and thank you for your bravery and your courage to step forth, because it's not the easiest thing. And especially when we're from smaller communities where everybody knows everybody, and they think, oh, they've got all church mad, or they're eating on the Bible. And it's not about that either. It's a feeling of spirituality and a sharing your story and how it may help someone else. And I really, really wish you all the best of health, Mickey, and lots of love to your wonderful family. Very talented girls. I've seen them singing there, and your beautiful wife. So I'm going to read this here. I know that I am pure spirit, that I always have been, and that I always will be. There is inside of me a place of confidence and quietness and security, where all things are known and understood. This is the universal mind, God, of which I am a part and which responds to me as I ask of it. This universal mind knows the answers to all of my problems, and even now the answers are speeding their way to me. I need not struggle for them. I need not worry or strive for them. When the time comes, the answers will be there. I give my problems to the great mind of God. I let go of them, confident that the correct answers will return to me when they are needed. Through the great law of attraction, everything in life that I need for my work and fulfillment will come to me. It is not necessary that I strain about this, only believe. For in the strength of my belief, my faith will make it so. I see the hand of the divine intelligence all about me, in the flowers, in the streams, in the trees, and Mickey Coleman. I know that the intelligence that created all of these things is in me and around me, and that I can call upon it for my slightest need. I know that my body is a manifestation of pure spirit, and that spirit is perfect. Therefore, my body is perfect also. I enjoy life, for each day brings a constant demonstration of the power and wonder of the universe in myself. I am confident. I am serene. I am sure, no matter what obstacle or undesirable circumstance crosses my path, I refuse to accept it, for it is nothing but illusion. There can be no obstacle or undesirable circumstance to the mind of God, which is in me, around me, and serves me now.
There you go.
That's your buddy Wayne that wrote that.
Fantastic.
Ach, Mickey, do us a wee favour before we finish. Sing us a wee song. Sing us a wee song. Come here, you sang on. I've seen this with the Chieftains. Was it Harry Black or Francis Black?
I usually get paid for making an idiot out of myself.
Give us a wee line or something, and then we'll finish it with.
Give you a line, Jesus, put me in the spot now. Let's see now. What do we sing out now? Line of what could we do now? We'll do a wee verse of let's see, building up and tearing England down. So you can remember a bit of that. I have won the hero's name with McAlpine and Costain, with Fitzpatrick, Murphy, Gowson, with Beeline. I am often on the road, on me way to draw the dough, when there's nothing left to do for Johnny Lang. And I used to think that God made a mixer picking hod, so that Paddy might know hell above the ground. I've had gangers big and tough tell me tear it all out rough when you're building up and tearing England down. Of course, you got me in the morning. You got me too early in the morning, Evelyn. You put me in the spot there.
Very good.
And for anybody who doesn't know, you do a wee bit of singing yourself.
No, I play a wee bit of a wee banjo now and again.
Good stuff. Well, listen,
That's
great
about it.
talking to you.
Thanks a
Thank you so
million.
much.
Thank you very much. And have a wonderful day, Mickey. We'll catch up soon.
And I would say, Evelyn, if anybody is gone through sickness, listen, I'm easy to find online. Shoot me and listen. A lot of people have reached out to me and been more than happy to help them, you know.
Well, that's great. I put all your details in on the podcast and on social media. And then reach out to Mickey Coleman.
Thank you very much.
God give you another opportunity. That's what it is. Way out there, he says, I need you to do more stuff. Thanks, Mickey. All the best. If you would like to become a paid subscriber to Effortless Attraction, you'll find the link in the main profile. Every subscription makes a difference to my life, and you'll also receive exclusive podcasts. Thank you so much for your continued support.